Hi, I'm Batyar Sanov and you are watching AnewZ. Let's see the top stories shaping our world. U.S. President Donald Trump fires Fed Governor Lisa Cook over mortgage fraud allegations. Israel has launched a nationwide day of disruption on Tuesday, blocking highways and staging rallies. French government risks collapse with budget confidence vote in September. For the first time in U.S. history, a sitting president has dismissed a Federal Reserve governor. Trump's decision to oust Lisa Cook has already triggered sharp political and financial reactions. It's also igniting a debate over the limits of presidential authority.
U.S. President Donald Trump has fired Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook in a move that could test the limits of presidential power over the independent central bank. On Truth Social post, Trump announced Cook's immediate removal, sparking fresh concerns about the independence of America's central bank. By former President Joe Biden in 2022, was the first African-American woman to sit on the Fed's governing board. In a letter, Trump said he had sufficient cause to remove her over alleged improprieties with mortgage loans. He accused her of listing two separate properties in Michigan and Georgia as her primary residence, raising questions about possible fraud. Trump went further, calling Cook's conduct deceitful and criminal. He said it undermined her integrity and showed negligence in financial matters, making her unfit to oversee regulation. In response to President's announcement, Cook has said Trump has no authority to fire her and she will not resign. The Federal Reserve has not yet commented on the issue. No president has ever removed a sitting Fed governor before. While the law allows removal for cause, it has never been tested in practice, as White House administrations for decades have avoided interference to protect confidence in monetary policy. Financial markets reacted quickly. U.S. stocks ended lower on Monday, with the Dow Jones losing more than 349 points, the S&P 500 down nearly 28, and the Nasdaq slipping 47. 9 of the 11 S&P sectors closed in the red. The dollar also weakened. Gold, the yen and the Swiss franc all advanced as investors turned to safe haven assets. Futures for the S&P 500 dipped further, while Asian markets also fell.
Staying with Trump, the U.S. president has warned of potential consequences if Russian President Vladimir Putin and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky fail to hold direct talks. Speaking alongside South Korean President Lee Jae-myung, Trump said the two leaders should meet, adding he will wait a week or two before considering further steps. He admitted resolving the Ukraine conflict has proven harder than expected, citing what he called the tremendous dislike between Putin and Zelensky. The war in Eastern Europe continues to claim lives. Russian attacks against Ukraine killed 1 civilian and injured 15 others over the past day. One person was killed in Donetsk Oblast, Governor Vadim Plashkin said. Ukraine's emergency services reported that 6 people were injured in overnight Russian attacks on a residential area in the Sumy region. The attacks damaged several residential buildings, and emergency crews brought large fires that broke out in 4 separate locations under control. In Kherson Oblast, Russian forces targeted 32 settlements, including the regional center of Kherson. 4 people were injured, Governor Alexander Prokudin reported. Ukrainian forces downed 47 out of 59 drones, including Shahed-type attack drones and decoys launched by Russia overnight, the Air Force reported. Now to the Middle East. Israelis have launched a nationwide day of disruption on Tuesday, blocking highways and staging rallies. Families of hostages are demanding a ceasefire deal with Hamas to secure their release.
Families of Israeli hostages held in Gaza led nationwide protests on Tuesday, blocking highways and staging demonstrations, demanding a ceasefire deal with Hamas that would secure the release of the remaining captives. Protesters lit fires and blocked traffic at several key junctions, including Yakum, about 30 kilometers north of Tel Aviv, where thick black smoke rose over the coastal highway. Demonstrators waved Israeli flags and yellow banners symbolising solidarity with the hostages and displayed photos of those still in captivity. The coordinated day of disruption saw major roads across Israel brought to a standstill, including sections of the Tel Aviv-Jerusalem road and the coastal highway, according to local media. Protesters also unfurled flags outside the US Embassy in Tel Aviv. Organisers planned nationwide marches, including a mothers and strollers protest at Tel Aviv's Hostages Square. Tuesday night will see a large march from Savidor station, according to local media. Hostage families are urging the public to join the evening rally to pressure the government.
For 690 days, the government has been waging a war without a clear objective. How will the hostages, the living and the fallen be returned? Who will govern Gaza the day after? How do we rebuild our country? Today, it is clear that Netanyahu fears one thing: public pressure.
We call today for the people listening to us. Come out, join us, be with us today, 8 o'clock at the Hostage Square, and remind the Prime Minister that we the people, we are the ones that decide what happens, and you need to listen to us.
There are 50 hostages remaining in Gaza, with 20 confirmed to be alive, according to Israeli officials. The demonstrations come as the United States and Israel say they're continuing to pressure Hamas to release the captives amid the ongoing conflict.
Israel has carried out airstrikes on Gaza's Nasser hospital, killing at least 20 people, among them 5 journalists. The journalists killed included freelancers and reporters working with Reuters, Al Jazeera and the Associated Press. Israel's military says it has launched an inquiry, while press freedom groups accuse it of targeting the media. Please note that the following report contains distressing images.
Smoke and chaos at Gaza's Nasser hospital in Khan Yunis. An Israeli strike hit the medical complex on Monday. Reuters cameraman Hussam al-Masri was killed in the first strike. Moments later, a second blast struck the site. As rescue workers and journalists rushed to help. In total, Palestinian health officials say 20 people were killed, including 5 journalists. Among them, Al Jazeera's Mohammed Salama, freelancers Mariam Abu Daga, Ahmed Abu Aziz, and Moaz Abu Taha. His brother, inconsolable as he sat by his body.
Take a picture of me, guys. I do not have a single photo with him. We worked together so much, yet I never took even one picture with him.
Press freedom group Reporters Without Borders condemned the attack.
When and where is it going to end? Are we going to let the Israel Defense Forces continue the repeated killing of journalists? There is international law. There are guarantees that should be granted to journalists covering conflicts. And none of that seems to be applying. So we need to be very clear about the fact that none of the journalists that are allegedly terrorists are terrorists. They are professional journalists working for legacy professional media, like, for example, Reuters or, for example, AP.
The Israeli military confirmed a strike in the area, but said it does not target civilians and has opened an inquiry.
IDF troops carried out a strike in the area of Nasser Hospital in Khan Yunis. We are aware of reports that harm was caused to civilians, including journalists. The Chief of the General Staff has instructed that an inquiry be conducted immediately to understand the circumstances of what happened and how it happened.
Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu called the strike a tragic mishap, but insisted the war is against Hamas. And the United Nations condemned the killings.
The Secretary General recalls that civilians, including medical personnel and journalists, must be respected and protected at all times. He calls for a prompt, impartial investigation into these killings. He reiterates that medical personnel and journalists must be able to perform their essential duties without interference, without intimidation, and without harm.
The strike has drawn international attention, with world leaders reacting to the deadly attack. US President Donald Trump on Monday said he wasn't aware of the incident.
This happened overnight today. I didn't know that. Any reaction to this? Are you going to talk to the Prime Minister? I don't want to see it. At the same time, we have to end that all.
And Turkey's President Erdogan called the bombing of the hospital a villainous attack, accusing Israel of being brutal and inhumane. Funeral processions were held for the journalists killed, their press vests draped over their bodies. Since the war began in October 2023, 189 Palestinian journalists have been killed by Israeli fire, according to the Committee to Protect Journalists. The strike on Nasser Hospital adds to the mounting international pressure on Israel and has fueled fresh outrage over its conduct in Gaza.
French Prime Minister François Bayrou has called a September the 8th confidence vote on his 44 billion euros budget-cutting plan. If he fails, his minority government will collapse. The measures aim to rein in France's deficit, which hit 5.8% of GDP last year, nearly twice the EU's 3% limit. Bayrou's push for austerity has angered both left and right, raising the chance of a no-confidence defeat like the one that ousted his predecessor Michel Barnier in late 2024. The vote comes just before nationwide protests set for September the 10th, backed by some unions and leftist parties. Now, Beijing hosted the 2025 Shanghai Cooperation Organization Forum on People-to-People Exchange ahead of the Tianjin Summit, highlighting cultural, media and youth collaborations. Key initiatives launched include the SCO Media Cooperation Mechanism, the Silkway Star Music Contest, and a global media campaign promoting mutual understanding among SCO countries.
The Shanghai Cooperation Organization Forum on People-to-People Exchange, co-hosted by China Media Group and the SCO Secretariat, was held in Beijing on Monday ahead of the SCO Summit 2025. Kyrgyz President Sadir Japarov and Pakistani Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif sent congratulatory messages, and over 100 guests from political, cultural and media circles attended. CMG and the SCO Secretariat signed cooperation documents and agreed on long-term collaboration, including initiatives in AI. The forum saw the launch of the SCO Media Cooperation Mechanism and its supporting initiative to deepen media cooperation and enhance mutual understanding. The 2025 Silkway Star International Music Contest, bringing together singers from Central Asia, the Caucasus and China, was unveiled along with CGTN's China Up Close, A Journey of Harmony media campaign, which involved journalists from 42 countries exploring Chinese modernization. Youth-focused exchange programs and a short video initiative were also launched, encouraging young people to share stories of cross-border friendship and collaboration.
We shall return after a short break. Stay with us.
Inside Politics delves deeply into the heart of global issues shaping our world today. Join me for your go-to source of political analysis from across the region and beyond.
Welcome to Afghanistan in the summer of 2025.
It's been 4 years since the Taliban came back to power in Afghanistan.
The biggest achievement, obviously, is ending the occupation of Afghanistan. We will strive towards, after 50 years of conflict, to turn Afghanistan into a hub of cooperation amongst the many stakeholders.
When the previous Western-backed government collapsed, thousands in the country scrambled, fleeing in fear of persecution.
دولت فقط همین تقاضا را داریم که کم کار زیاد کنه، جوانا در کار مشغول شوند دیگه شوند تا اصلا مجبور نشن برن به دیگه جای مسافرت کنن یا اوج سختی ها را طی کنن.
Mostly maybe the media's telling something about the Afghanistan, about the fight, but they shouldn't believe such a thing.
There are projects to kickstart the economy in the works. The Turkmenistan, Afghanistan, Pakistan, India gas pipeline is one of them.
We're also working diligently with our counterparts in Turkmenistan, Azerbaijan, and Turkey to realize the Lapis Lazuli route.
We're here at the Port Torgundi in Afghanistan's western province of Herat. This is one of two starting points of the Lapis Lazuli corridor, the other one being in the north of the country.
بدون هر قدر ترانزیت یا مسیر راه‌های انتقالی بیشتر شه، این موثرتر برای اقتصاد کشور.
Welcome back to AnewZ. As Beijing prepares to welcome the largest ever Shanghai Cooperation Organization summit in Tianjin, all eyes will be on how China leverages the gathering, not just to deepen regional cooperation, but to showcase its expanding influence on the global stage amid rapidly changing geopolitical currents. With leaders from more than 20 countries and heads of 10 international organizations attending, this will be the largest SCO summit since its establishment and the 5th time China has played host. To help us analyze what's at stake, I'm joined by Andrew Leung, international and independent China strategist, speaking to us from London, UK. Mr. Leung, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Mr. Leung, the SCO was founded on principles of mutual respect, consensus, and rules-based interaction. To what extent does the organization genuinely adhere to these ideals in practice?
Well, now the world is now being the order has been totally upended by President Trump's American first unilateralism and American first bullying. So the Global South as a major victim of this American aggression and hegemony. And so the emphasis this time is on people-to-people exchange, in the sense that even amongst the SCO members, there are, of course, differences. For example, between the Muslim kind of ethnic groups and also certain forces in China. But all the Global South is now more interconnected by China's pivoting the trade towards the other countries as a result of American sanctions. So and also this speaks to China's emphasis on soft power. The post-war order has been ruled by the United States, both hard power and soft power. The so-called rule-based order, based on democracy and commonly accepted values. But the soft power is now being totally discarded by Trump's 2.0. And this opened up the opportunity for countries like China to focus on soft power as a means of connecting the peoples around the world together to work for a fairer, more equitable, more inclusive, and more sustainable world. And that's the theme of the SCO forum this time.
Mr. Leung, with Iran now a full member, how do you see the scope of China-Iran cooperation evolving within the Shanghai Cooperation Organization framework?
Well, not only Iran has joined, but because of the expansion of membership to include dialogue members, observers, and so countries like Saudi Arabia, UAE, Kuwait, Bahrain, they're all members of one form or another. So this has, lends itself to a more inclusive the Middle East. The Middle East is now rattled by the war in Gaza, by Israel's, again, unilateralism, resulting in a huge humanitarian crisis. And I think that there's a role for Iran to play. But of course, Iran is now being targeted by Israel and of course by the United States as an existential threat. And hence the recent bombing of Iran's nuclear facilities by the United States. And this deepens the kind of frictions over the Middle East. And so the Shanghai Cooperation Organization and has a role to play to, again, people-to-people exchanges, focusing on regional trade, focusing on common issues, confronting not only the Middle East, but the rest of the world, like climate change, terrorism, drugs, and green energy, and sustainability.
Do you believe the Shanghai Cooperation Organization could become a counterweight to Western-led alliances, or is it still more of a regional dialogue platform?
Well, when the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, it only consisted of Russia, China, and the Central Asian countries, the landlocked countries, like Kazakhstan, Tajikistan. But over time, it's now expanded to include countries in the Middle East, as I explained, but also Turkey, Egypt, and also countries in the so-called Middle Corridor, including Azerbaijan and Armenia, but also countries in Asia, for example, Cambodia, Nepal. So I think it consists of the key players in the Global South. At a time when the whole world requires a counterbalancing force to steer the world towards a more stable, a more peaceful kind of paradigm, rather than succumbing to President Trump's unilateralism. So this time around, the window of opportunity is much larger for an organization like the.
Mr. Leung, how does China view the newly emerging Trump route for international peace and prosperity corridor in the context of the wider East-West connectivity landscape?
Well, first of all, I mentioned the Middle East corridor connecting the China through Central Asia, bypassing some of the trouble spots in Russia, connecting Eurasia with China, because China, after all, is the world's largest trader and manufacturer, and is deeply embedded in the global supply and value chain. Even though goods not made in China, is embedded in it in terms of repairs, in terms of components, parts, and also logistics, because the world's top 7 container ports out of the top 10 are in China, including Hong Kong. So I think that the SCO is now facing a new chapter where it is destined to play a much larger role.
So Russia remains a central player in the SCO. How far is China willing to go in espousing Russian positions, especially given Moscow's strained ties with the West?
Well, of course, Russia is now subject to attack by the West, led by the United States, and also because of the war in Ukraine. And China is treading a very narrow path because territorial integrity is a key point of China's foreign policy. There's no way that China can openly condone Russia's war or invasion of Ukraine. But on the other hand, China and Russia have been not so much pulled together, but pushed together by American aggression. This was forewarned by the former American policy doyen, Brzezinski, who was Henry Kissinger's mentor. In his seminal book called The World Chessboard, it was published in 1997. That was 20 odd years ago. He already forewarned that the greatest existential threat to American dominance would be when Russia, Iran, and China are forming a closer partnership. But this is exactly what's happened, and this is not because they are pulled together, but they are pushed together by American aggression.
Mr. Leung, finally, what would you say will be the main takeaways from the Tianjin summit for China, for the SCO members, and for the broader international community?
Well, the broad theme is that the world is facing unprecedented challenges as a result, unilateralism and trying to bend the whole world to suit Americans' own national interests, trampling upon other countries' sovereignty and developing interests. So it's now time for the Global South not to form a bloc against, because all countries would still like to maintain a positive relationship with the United States. They can, on the one hand, coordinate their foreign policy and also looking for areas of cooperation so that they can work together, fairer and more sustainable and equitable and more inclusive and peaceful world.
Andrew Leung, thank you very much for your insights and for joining us today from London. We greatly appreciate your time. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much indeed.
After the break, we'll look at the key stories shaping the region. Stay tuned.
With a long history behind, China's rapid growth is reshaping the world economy and alliances.
既不能让中美脱钩，也不能够让中国在全球产供链里面失去它的。
We no longer have a unipolar world anymore.
中间走了呢，这个是这几年中国跟中亚国家跟高加索国家比较热议的一个话题。这个中间走了呢。
China is first manufacturing nation in the world. Europe needs China's goods.
From here, rail lines and trade routes stretch westward through Central Asia and the South Caucasus, linking China with Europe.
目前我们从西安发出的这个中欧班列，能够覆盖“一带一路”沿线40多个国家和地区。
Our strategy and vision in Azerbaijan is in Azerbaijan for Azerbaijan.
It's a journey that is transforming not only China, but the way the world moves together.
Hello, I'm Orkun Amashov. Welcome to Dialogue of Civilizations. No man is an island entire of itself. Our true connection as species go far beyond digital technology. In this exciting new series, I'll be exploring a vast and fascinating history of connections between civilizations and revealing secret bonds that have helped societies, cultures, and religions peacefully coexist. Join me and let's explore together.
And welcome back to AnewZ. We're going to take a closer look at the key stories shaping the region. Now, Iran's Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs and political directors of the foreign ministries of France, Germany and the UK will resume talks in Switzerland on Tuesday to negotiate a deal on the future of Iran's nuclear sanctions. Our Turaj Shiralilo has more from Tehran.
The upcoming meeting in Geneva follows the joint telephone conversation of Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Arafchi with his counterparts from the European Troika as well as the EU Foreign Policy Chief on Friday. The conversation was held days before the deadline set by the European powers, which are signatories of the 2015 Iran nuclear deal, to activate the snapback mechanism or return of UN nuclear sanctions in October if they do not reach an agreement with Iran by end of August. In the meantime, Tehran has stepped up its diplomatic contacts with Beijing and Moscow, which, similar to the European powers, are the JCPOA parties. They are also permanent members of the UN Security Council, wielding the veto power. According to a Foreign Ministry press release, the foreign ministers of Iran and Russia talked on phone on Saturday and stressed that the E3 lacks legal and moral authority to call for reactivation of the snapback mechanism of UN sanctions. And Deputy Foreign Minister Kazem Garibabadi held a telephone talk with his Chinese counterpart about the nuclear negotiations and the UN Security Council Resolution 2231 regarding Iran's nuclear sanctions, which expires in October. Also, local news media reported that the Egyptian foreign minister, in a phone talk with his German counterpart, has called for resumption of the nuclear talks with Iran, as well as Tehran's cooperation with the International Atomic Energy Agency, IAEA. Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Sayyid Ali Khamenei on Sunday ruled out direct nuclear negotiations with the US and said Tehran will not be obedient to Washington's demands, which is insisting on zero enrichment by Iran. Turaj Shiralilo, reporting for AnewZ TV, Tehran.
Now moving to the Far East and Central Asia, where Japan is strengthening its partnership with Kazakhstan by providing financial aid to support those affected by nuclear testing. During the first official visit of Japan's Foreign Minister Takeshi Ibe, key agreements were reached to boost trade, investment and collaboration in strategic sectors. Our correspondent Fariza Kalumurzina has more.
Japan will provide Kazakhstan with $7.4 million in aid for victims of nuclear testing and is set to deepen its economic cooperation with the country. This announcement came during the official visit of Japanese Foreign Minister Takeshi Iwai to Astana, his first visit to Kazakhstan in this role. Following talks with Kazakhstan's Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Foreign Affairs Murat Nurtliu, both sides agreed to strengthen trade and economic ties through increased investment, expanded exports and joint projects in strategic sectors. Japan is currently among Kazakhstan's top 10 foreign investors, having contributed over $9 billion in direct investment to date. Last year, bilateral trade approached $2 billion, and the Kazakh side believes there is strong potential to build on this figure. Key areas for future cooperation include the export of non-ferrous and rare earth metals. Kazakhstan supplies 22 of the 32 critical raw materials Japan needs for its green transition. As a result, partnerships are being explored between Kazakhstan's Tauken Samruk and Japan's Oil, Gas and Metals National Corporation. Transport infrastructure also was a key topic during the talks. Japan has pledged support to digitalize customs procedures at the port of Aktau, which is part of the Trans-Caspian International Transport Route. The two sides also agreed to speed up preparations for the Central Asia plus Japan summit, which was postponed last year due to an earthquake in Japan. The meeting is now expected to take place as soon as possible. In addition, a direct flight between Almaty and Tokyo is set to begin in 2026, a move expected to boost business and cultural ties between the two countries. Also, Kazakhstan's Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Murat Nurtliu announced that discussions took place regarding the organization of an official visit by Kazakhstan's President Kassym-Jomart Tokayev to Japan, expected to take place before the end of this year. From Almaty, Kazakhstan, Fariza Kalimurzina, AnewZ.
Staying on the topic, Georgia seems not sitting back while Armenia and Azerbaijan edge closer to a Zangezur corridor that could sideline Tbilisi's transit influence. Instead, the country is increasing speed with an international tender now open for supervising the new Batumi-Sarpi highway.
The South Caucasus is entering a new era. Armenia and Azerbaijan are close to a final peace deal which could open the Zangezur corridor, a direct link from Azerbaijan to Turkey. For Georgia, that's a challenge. If cargo moves through Armenia, Tbilisi risks losing part of its role as the region's main gateway. But Georgia is keen to remain a relevant player in regional connectivity by investing in infrastructure projects. The latest step, a new highway between Batumi and Sarpi on the Turkish border. The plan is ambitious: 11 kilometers of road, a tunnel stretching 7.6 kilometers, a bridge almost 1.5 kilometers long, and plus 2 interchanges and coastal protections. Funded by the Asian Development Bank and the state budget, the project is now open for international tenders. Supervision will last 4 years with proposals due by September 2025. The stakes are high. Batumi is Georgia's tourist capital, the heart of the Black Sea coast. A faster, safer road means more trade, more visitors, and more regional ties. So while new corridors may shift the balance in the South Caucasus, Georgia is making sure it remains vital. It's Nini Nikolaishvili reporting from Tbilisi, AnewZ.
A top United Nations counter-terrorism official has issued a stark warning about ISIS Khorasan, better known as ISIS-K. She says the group continues to pose a serious threat not only inside Afghanistan, but also across Europe and Central Asia. Our correspondent Tamim Bahis has more from Kabul.
Natalia Gurman, Executive Director of the UN Counterterrorism Committee, told the Security Council that ISIS-K is actively recruiting members and raising money through online propaganda campaigns. Her remarks come even as Afghanistan's Taliban rulers, who call themselves the Islamic Emirates, insist that ISIS has been defeated in the country. But security experts say the reality is more complex. ISIS-K formed in 2015 as the Afghan branch of the so-called Islamic State has carried out some of the deadliest bombings in the region. The group emerged in eastern Afghanistan and pledged allegiance to ISIS global leadership. Unlike the Taliban, whose focus is on ruling Afghanistan, ISIS-K aims to establish transnational Islamic caliphate. The ideological divide has made the two groups bitter rivals. Since the Taliban's takeover in 2021, ISIS-K has repeatedly targeted Taliban forces, government offices and civilians in deadly attacks. The United Nations say the danger now is that ISIS-K could expand beyond Afghanistan's borders through its digital networks and regional links, raising fears of new violence far outside the country. For now, the Taliban claim victory over ISIS-K, but the UN warns the group remains resilient and very much alive. This is Tamim Bahis in Kabul for AnewZ.
The ancient Tawila cisterns of Aden carved into Yemen's Shamsan mountain have just been recognized by the Arab League Educational, Cultural and Scientific Organization as part of the Arab Architectural Heritage List. The site, one of Yemen's oldest landmarks, once safeguarded the city from floods and sustained its residents with water.
Drone footage shows the sweeping stone reservoirs of the Tawila cisterns in Aden, now officially listed as part of Arab architectural and urban heritage by Alexo. Dating back centuries, the cisterns were once a vital lifeline, storing rainwater to supply residents, passing ships, and to shield the city from devastating floods. Experts say their significance lies both in culture and survival.
The Tawila cisterns are one of the most important landmarks of Aden city and also of Yemen. In addition, it has been listed now among the Arab heritage sites, and hopefully it will be listed among the International Heritage List.
The network once had 50 reservoirs, but just 18 remain today, with a combined capacity of. Visitors say the recognition is a source of pride, showcasing Yemen's rich history and engineering capabilities. They say sites like this embody the greatness of their ancestors and serve as reminders of a cultural legacy still standing despite conflict and hardship. For many in Aden, the hope is that this new listing will help bring the Tawila cisterns not only regional, but also international recognition.
Jordan's King Abdullah II has arrived in Uzbekistan on a state visit at the invitation of President Shavkat Mirziyoyev. The two leaders toured Samarkand, exploring its ancient monuments and cultural treasures. Their visit began at the Shaki Zinda complex, where the king paid tribute at the mausoleum of Gusam ibn Abbas, a companion of the Prophet Muhammad. The delegation also visited the mausoleum of Amir Timur, learning about his statecraft and global legacy. The tour concluded at the Samarkand's iconic Registan Square, where the leaders viewed its restored madrasas, a symbol of the city's centuries-old role as a center of learning. King Abdullah II Ibn al-Hussein's official visit to Kazakhstan will follow on August 26th and 27th at the invitation of President Kassym-Jomart Tokayev. And after the break, we will explore how Jordan's deepening ties with Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan could reshape economic and geopolitical dynamics across Central Asia. Stay with us.
What is power? Has leadership truly evolved, or are the old rules of geopolitics still pulling the strings behind the scenes? Who is really powerful? And what makes people feel powerless? Our new series explores the secrets, strategies, and consequences of power.
On World Business, we meet the boardroom leaders making market-moving decisions. And find out how leaders are dealing with continuous technological disruption.
We are ready to welcome everyone to come to Gabela and to make unforgettable memories.
Welcome to Gabela rafting.
This territory is the most important place in our history. Our ancestors lived here 2,000 years ago, and they had here amazing culture, amazing civilization.
There's something for everyone here. This place is the largest amusement park in Azerbaijan.
Our guests love to have meal in this atmosphere.
Yeah.
You know, you see you're in nature,
look at this.
You're in the forest, and the good food.
It's 6 tons, 579 liters.
And it's a lot of wine.
And biggest cask in the world.
Bandar is not just a holiday destination. It's a symbol of Azerbaijan's growing tourism potential.
The doors are open. Welcome to Gabela, Azerbaijan.
Welcome back to AnewZ. Now we begin with King Abdullah II of Jordan's official visit to Central Asia, where he has just wrapped up a trip to Uzbekistan and is now in Kazakhstan for high-level talks with President Kassym-Jomart Tokayev. The visit is expected to mark a new stage in strengthening political dialogue and expanding strategic cooperation between Amman and Astana. At the center of this trip is the Kazakhstan-Jordan Business Forum in Astana, bringing together some 300 entrepreneurs and investors from both sides, a key step in boosting trade and investment ties. Jordan's growing engagement with Central Asia also reflects a broader geopolitical trend as the region increasingly positions itself as a connector between East and West. To help us unpack the significance of King Abdullah's visits to Uzbekistan and Kazakhstan, we're joined by Dr. Nurbolat Nushambayev, a political scientist and professor at Turan University in Almaty, Kazakhstan. Dr. Nushambayev, welcome to the program.
Hello, welcome.
Dr. Nushambayev, what does King Abdullah's tour of Uzbekistan and Kazakhstan signal about Jordan's foreign policy priorities?
Definitely, in terms of, if we look at this visit from the strategic viewpoint, the King Abdullah's visit to Central Asia, it opens new trade routes for the Central Asian countries in terms of connecting Central Asia and the Middle East. The second part is, of course, it's an economic partnership. We have witnessed his visit to Uzbekistan, and today he came to Kazakhstan. It will expand not only economic aspect, but as well as cultural, tourism, and in terms of educational aspects as well. Now we have seen Central Asia became as a turning point between East and West. In this regard, I think Jordan, as one of the leading countries from the Middle East, is trying to expand cooperation with the Central Asian countries.
So why do you think this visit is happening now, and what regional or global factors may have influenced the timing?
Definitely, one of the first aspects is logistical aspects. In the last few months, we have seen in Sea Road, in particular in Red Sea, in Egypt, we have seen some difficulties between the trade war, China and the USA. You have seen some difficulties in sea roads. Mm-hmm. So when it comes to the land roads, when it comes to the logistics for the Jordan, Central Asian countries becoming one of the best solution to get rare materials and some other aspects in order to boost the economic aspect. The second is we have seen in the last few years, Central Asia is opening to the wider regions. Mm-hmm. So therefore, not only Jordan, many other Middle Eastern countries, they are trying to get to create strong connection with the Central Asian countries. For example, this year, Astana and Amman, they are planning to create a direct flight between the two capitals of the countries. Mm-hmm. So for such a kind of new solutions, I think it will create a bridge between the Central Asia and Middle East.
Dr. Nushanbayev, what role do you expect the Kazakhstan-Jordan Business Forum to play in reshaping bilateral economic relations?
From the Kazakhstan vision, we have seen in the last couple of years, Kazakhstan is trying to boost economic diplomacy. They are trying to organize such a kind of business forums everywhere. So with Jordan, I think it's one of the key components of the state visit. So in business forum, I think probably middle and higher business class, they will have access to wider market, to access, to exchange the latest technologies, latest ideas in trade. It will not only between Kazakhstan and the Jordan, but for wider terms between Central Asia and the Jordan, it will help new wave of opportunities for the business people for the Central Asian market. Because we have seen Central Asia as a 50 million population is rising in the last few years.
So with Russia, China, Turkey and the West all vying for influence in Central Asia, how does Jordan fit into this picture?
Definitely, Jordan is not able to compare with such a kind of great powers like Turkey or Russia or European Union. But Jordan, with around 12 million population, they have a strong interest to Kazakhstan. So therefore, I would say Jordan's role in Central Asia primarily may limit with economy, with the logistics, and with the educational aspects. So therefore, the security role will not be as much as important as other actors like China or Russia or United States. So Jordan's role for Central Asia will bring new opportunities for the educational hubs, for the cultural aspects, also it will expand already established economic cooperation between the two countries.
So how should we interpret King Abdullah's stop in Uzbekistan? What were the key outcomes there?
For example, we have seen from Uzbekistan, King Abdullah, they made a joint declaration on economic aspect, first of all. The second, also King Abdullah visited local historical aspects. I think it shows how Uzbekistan and Jordan are close in terms of spirituality, in terms of common history, in terms of Islamic vision to the world. So such a kind, also the leaders, they have made common announcement to the media that Jordan and Uzbekistan will increase their collaboration in education aspect, in science, as well as in logistical aspects. I think Jordan's king's visit to Central Asia, it makes even stronger when we look at to those countries in terms of Islamic vision to the wider sense and Eastern vision to the politics in diplomacy.
Dr. Nushanbayev, looking ahead, do you think these visits will translate into long-term strategic partnerships, or are they more symbolic gestures?
Definitely, we shouldn't undermine this visit to Central Asian countries, in particular Uzbekistan and Kazakhstan. So, King Abdullah II tour, let's say, for Central Asia, it will create a first step for longer, stronger partnership. Let me give examples this way. In the last few years, we have realized that middle powers like Jordan, like Azerbaijan, like Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan, they are rising their influence. They are getting some very important roles which have been never before. So therefore, strong connection between the middle power states now creating the foundation of the new world order. So therefore, I think King Abdullah II's visit to Central Asian countries will create long-lasting strategic partnerships between the region without any great power interference.
Nurbalat Nushambayev, thank you very much for your insights and analysis. We greatly appreciate your time and expertise. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much for having me.
That's all we have for now. Thank you for watching and stay tuned to AnewZ for more.